He gave me probably the most important lessons he could, which is how to be a good human, but he didn't teach me how to be a man. My father never told me he loved me growing up. I never heard, I'm proud of you. Living in alignment with your core values and not dealing with resistance in the sense that cutting out anything that takes your energy and living in alignment to who you want to be and what's most important to you. Because when you're honoring your core values and you're embodying integrity into what's most important, you are in a higher vibrational state of joy, gratitude, bliss, abundance.
Two things. Role model, number one. Two is education or the knowledge that there is something bigger that they could do. Because if those two things align, they realize, okay, I see all my friends over here doing bad. I don't need to do that. Your dad and I are getting a divorce. We're splitting up and we're heading out to the grandparents' house right now. And of course, I start losing it as a young kid. And I'm like freaking out in the back seat. I don't understand what's going on. My brother and sister, not knowing to them, they say, shut up, kind of suppress the feelings. Don't feel that way. Don't ask for help. Don't ask for this. Don't ask for that. And apparently that was the trigger that suppressed me. At 8 years of age, had no idea that this was there. It's crazy. All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Abundance to Give podcast. Today, I have a special guest on, Zarek Fatah. Is I pronounced that right for you? Zarek Fatah?
You nailed it, Jeff.
And we were talking just as before we got on about your descent being from India and Pakistan, but then you said that your uncle is like half Irish? Your grandfather's half Irish.
No, my grandfather's Irish, which means my mom is half Irish.
So you got it.
5%, yeah.
Okay. That's amazing. So that means that if you wanted to drink, I don't know if you're a drinker, that you could probably drink pretty well.
If I was a drinker, yeah, I'd probably keep up with you, given that you're part Irishman as well, right?
But I do not really drink really anymore. Obviously younger ages we did that, or I did that, but now I just feel like it's so hard. It ruins the body, man.
The recovery, we don't quite bounce back the way we used to.
Yeah, and I just don't have a need or a desire for it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And everybody's different. I feel like this clarity of mind. I mean, sure, I'll have a social cocktail here and there, but I'm not out there saying, hey, we're going to go out and get, plastered tonight. So
yeah. And there's a difference between wanting to drink and needing to drink. Right. And a lot of the guys I work with are, at times they're dealing with alcohol issues. And I always say that people don't drink because how it makes them feel. They drink because how it doesn't make them feel. Now, you and I, we might have a margarita or a glass of wine just because, it complements the dinner, or maybe we just want, it's a festive cocktail. But for some people that have alcohol abuse issues, they're actually drinking to numb themselves, right? So the question is, what are they numbing themselves from? And that is the work that we do together to get to the root cause of what is creating that desire to drink to a point of numbing themselves.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we may jump it a little bit deeper down with this because of some personal issues, not necessarily with me, but with my Kate, who my girlfriend and her ex-husband.
Right. So, and see, to your point about not needing to drink anymore, as we get older and we do the work and we actually clear those traumas and we work through the originating incident and we are able to heal ourselves from the core issue, we don't feel the need to consume alcohol anymore to numb ourselves.
Or any vice for that matter, right? Because I call it a vice. It's almost like a vice.
Whatever it is that distracts you, right? Or numbs you or gives you that dopamine to compensate.
Yeah. And so for anybody watching, just so you know, the whole purpose of the Abundance to Give podcast and why we even created this a few years ago, there's plenty of business podcasts out there that interview successful entrepreneurs like Zarek and many others about, hey, what do you do for a living? Give your tactics, strategies, all these other things for how you become successful. But very few really dive into the core of how a lot of successful people really, truly become successful. And it's not by taking, it's typically by giving. Hence the Abundance to Give podcast, which is why we dive a few layers deep into, how has giving and helping others, Zarek, created abundance for you in your life, hence abundance to give. So lean in on that. I mean, because I'm sure there's different instances in your life where you can point to say, yeah, when I helped this out, this happened for me. When I helped these people, this happened, and created this kind of loop of abundance in your life.
Sure. So the reason why I even got into the coaching space, because I was in the hospitality and entertainment industry for 25 years, and I did really well with nightclubs and bars and music festivals and all that. And, as rewarding as it was to see 1,000 people dancing their asses off in the club, it's superficial in the sense, it's like, okay, what is what is my true calling, right? Now, along the way, I was fortunate enough to be involved with a project called Artbound. And with Artbound, we raised over $2 million and we built schools in Kenya, India, Nicaragua, Guatemala, and Haiti. And we used our venues to throw epic parties, raise a lot of money, and then use that money to do good in the world. And I mention these events because it gave me a taste of what philanthropy felt like. It had me feeling very fulfilled and seeing the rewards of what we can do with money when we channel those funds into positive initiatives. And that feeling of fulfillment is something I never forgot. So it showed me that, yes, making money and having clubs and driving a nice car and all that feels good. It's fun, but it's actually not what true fulfillment is. So, I got to a point in my career in around 40 years of age where it's like, okay, I've done some epic shit. I've created a bunch of businesses. I made a bunch of money, but what else? There's got to be something else to it. And I had that feeling of fulfillment from those trips that we took and the impact we were making that had me like already get a glimpse of what it could be like to channel my energy into something that was not about me, but about giving back and contributing to others. So when I was contemplating my future, trajectory in the hospitality industry and was really stuck and kind of felt like I was on a hamster wheel, like Groundhog Day. I knew there was something else out there for me. And when I hosted my first retreat, I felt that sense of fulfillment again. I felt
tell me about that first retreat. Sorry to interrupt you, but
yeah, no worries. So
so tell me about like the depth of that, meaning who was it for, who was there, and then like why did it fulfill you? Like, because you hadn't experienced that before, so there's something deeper there.
Yeah, well, when I began my personal development journey, questioning what is my purpose and what else could I do if I got out of hospitality, because I love to travel, I'm an event organizer, I love great food and fitness. I thought, how cool would it be? Because people were now reaching out to me. They were asking me for advice. People were asking me about the retreats I was going on or the coaches I was working with or books I was reading. So I thought, wow, this is pretty cool. People are now coming to me asking me about my journey. Well, why don't I take them to Costa Rica? And why don't I introduce them to my coaches and teach them about breath work? Now, when I started retreats, I never thought I was going to be a coach. I just thought, hey, you know what? I'm a nightlife guy. I'm an event organizer. Let me introduce you to the people that have made an impact on me. And when I hosted that first retreat, again, I didn't think I was going to be the coach. I was just the retreat organizer. I was just one throwing the consciousness party, right? And it's funny because there's a lot of parallels between hosting a retreat and hosting a music festival, right? You got to find the venue.
There's event planning, logistics, operations.
Yeah, but instead of hiring a mixologist or performers, you're hiring a yoga teacher and a holistic chef, right? So there were some parallels and transferable skills that allowed me to host a really epic retreat. And I remember seeing the impact of these 12 humans in front of me, literally transforming as they're realizing their blockages, as they're working through past trauma. And I saw them arrive one way, leave another way a week later. And I thought, I want to do more of this, and it was in that moment on that first retreat where I started to see the transformation happen in front of me that I picked up my phone. I emailed my partner. I told him, we're not reopening the restaurant. I'm selling it for whatever we can. And I'm going all in on this.
Wow.
And I was just ready for a change.
What age were you? What age?
I was 44 at the time. Yeah.
You do not look old, dude. How old are you?
I'm actually 51.
Good for you.
Yeah. And I will thank you. And, part of that is sleeping well, eating well, training, but most importantly, having the mindset to not let things stress you out and drain your life force energy. Right.
Yeah. I think it's learning how to sit in an uncomfortable level of stress. I call it, where stress is certainly stress, but you can sit in it and not have it overwhelm you. And it almost seem like it's like, okay, well, we'll figure it out. kind of thing.
And as well, living in alignment with your core values and not dealing with resistance in the sense that cutting out anything that takes your energy and living in alignment to who you want to be and what's most important to you. Because when you're honoring your core values and you're embodying integrity into what's most important, you are in a higher vibrational state of joy, gratitude, bliss, abundance, right? And in a low vibrational frequency, you are a resonant match for sickness, illness, and disease.
Yeah.
So you got to clear the shit that you're dragging along. You got to have a clear vision of where you want to be, and you got to make choices that are congruent with you being that person each and every day, and just honoring your health, honoring your sleep, honoring your relationships. Yeah.
Give me an example of, let's give a case study for a minute. Somebody's going through a tough moment in life, season. They're feeling pretty down about things. Maybe it's personal or professional, one of the two. And they're in a rut. They're in a negative mindset, negative talk rut in their brain. So every day it's this negative talk, negative talk, negative talk. And I literally just came from a Tony Robbins event a week ago.
Okay.
So I walked through some of this stuff on how to switch out of it. Because I think this is the battle that a lot of people go through, where, and even we all have
for sure
moments and days you wake up and you're not in the same positive vibrational pattern that maybe you were 2 days ago.
Absolutely.
And you have to switch yourself into that. So it's doing that process. Tony talked about state, story, strategy. Okay. State, story, strategy. But I'm curious as to what you do when you're in a negative rut thought. You have negative thoughts going on in your brain, and you're like, God, I just need to get out of this. Like, how do I change my state? Like, how do I do this? Because I'm in this rut. I need to think positive, but I don't know how to start. What do you tell them?
So those thoughts will swirl around in your head every day until you disrupt them. Now, it's said that we have 70,000 thoughts per day. Majority of them are negative, and the majority of those thoughts are the same over and over and over again, right? So when Tony talks about state, okay, I'm feeling anxious. I'm feeling stressed. Can you name the state? How are you feeling? And obviously journaling is nothing new, but there's something very important about putting it down on paper. So if you write down, I'm feeling stressed, I'm feeling anxious. Okay, that's how I'm feeling today. It's not what I am, it's how I'm feeling. Now you write down, why am I feeling stressed and anxious? What's actually coming up for me? Writing it down. And then when you see it on paper in front of you, black and white, now you ask yourself, so let's say you're feeling fearful about something, right? I'm upset. I'm afraid. I'm anxious. My girlfriend might leave me because this, that, and the other. Okay. Well, then you got to ask yourself, is this statement actually true? Do I have proof to validate that the statement is true? Or is it in fear from a belief from an old story? Am I reacting in the present moment from something that happened in the past that's going to impact my future? Right now, when you have it written down in front of you and you can actually validate whether or not this is true. Now, there might be some truth to it. Now, if there is truth to it, okay, it is true that if I do this, my girlfriend will leave me. Okay, well then what do I choose to do right now to make sure that I do not validate that belief, I do not make that come true, and I act in accordance with the future that I'm creating? Because often when people don't break down their fears and acknowledge what they're actually feeling, those thoughts just swirl around in their head and
they self-perpetuate.
What's that?
Self-perpetuate.
Yes. And they say that 95% of our actions are controlled by our subconscious, right? And the intrinsic drivers of our subconscious are our unconscious beliefs. Now they say that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So when you take what you're unconscious to, you make it conscious by writing it down, you acknowledge it, and then you make a conscious choice with intention of how you want to behave differently to being congruent with the reality you want to create. You're now taking what is a shitstorm of stress and anxiety in your head, you're putting on paper, you're breaking it down, and now you're consciously choosing how you want to respond to that, right? And it's not a complicated process. It just requires having the self-awareness to check in. Maybe it's taking some breaths, doing some breath work, some meditation. Write down, how are you feeling? What is going on? How do you want to feel? How do you want to act, right? And just not letting those emotions sweep you up and take you away, because that's what happens to most people. And then they'll wake up next day thinking the same thing, feeling the same thing, and it just goes over and over and over again, right? And our energy flows where our attention goes, right? So if we're constantly thinking...
focus goes where energy flows. Yeah.
Right? So if we keep putting our awareness on what can go wrong, well, then our energy is going to manifest that.
Yeah, no, you make amazing points. Because I always wanted to try and figure out for me what would work for me to change my state. If I was in whatever it is, maybe I woke up with a bad attitude. I don't know, right? And this is what worked for me. And you could tell me if this is the right thing or not. But it worked for me. I start off with saying 3 things I'm grateful for, because it is impossible for your mind to be in a state of gratitude and a state of negativity at the same time.
That's correct.
Like, it's impossible. Try that. And what's interesting is if that doesn't work, stage 2 is I go outside barefoot.
Mhm.
I will stand on either grass or soil and ground the body and put my face towards light. Whether that's the sun, towards light, right? I don't care if it's 20 degrees outside, light,
Yeah.
right? And take 5 deep breaths, right? With my hand over my heart.
Mhm.
A state of gratitude, hand over heart, 5 deep breaths towards vitamin D. You're grounding your body. That usually does the trick. So that's number 2. If that doesn't work, stage 3 is guaranteed for me. And that is I have a playlist on Spotify. It's called
Yes.
my positivity playlist.
Love that.
It is 5 songs guaranteed that if I listen to them, it is impossible for me not to start like feeling
Mhm.
it's impossible. I mean, I think I was trying to look at the one of them I was just looking at the other day. Let me pull this up while I'm like looking at it. Because it's just super interesting how this works. One of them is Free Fallin', right? The other one is Every Breath You Take by Police. The other one is Staying Alive by Bee Gees.
Love
Impossible.
it. Yeah.
Tom Petty, Free Fallin', right? Lovely Day by Bill Withers, whatever it is. Lovely
Yeah.
Day, right? That whole one.
Yeah.
Um, Sweet Home Alabama. I mean, how can you not go wrong with Sweet Home? Yeah, and there's a few other ones in there, but that guaranteed it does a
And I
mind shift.
guarantee some of those songs, if not all of them, are connected to an anchor memory. Some of those songs directly take you back emotionally, mentally to an experience where you felt joy, love, and gratitude.
Yeah, almost all of them. It'd be Lake Powell. I don't know if you've ever been to Lake Powell in the United States. Like hand down's probably one of the most majestic places. It's like the Grand Canyon filled with water.
Wow.
And all those songs we would play on the lake.
There you go.
And,
Right.
and it's like the most majestic experience ever. You know, it's beautiful, it's warm, it's the desert, there's canyons. I mean, it's a Grand Canyon filled with water. And it's just so like positive because a lot of my youth for 15 years grew up on that lake.
Yeah, and the friends you were with,
Yep.
carefree,
And all those songs
light.
we'd
Yeah, it takes you back to that state of when you were younger and you didn't have all the responsibility and all the stresses that we now have as adults, right? And you know, your high vibe, state shifting routine that you just shared is bang on, and it works for you. Now, for some people, like for myself, if I'm feeling down, go find my dog, get down on the ground with her, you know, give her a belly rub, scratch her head, and I can't not feel happier being with my dog. Sometimes for me, it's going out for a quick 20, 30-minute run, get the endorphins flowing, you know, or same like you, put on my high vibe playlist, which I'll share with you as well, and just dance and just move my body, you know. So the sunlight, the grounding, the gratitude, all of that's a beautiful flow you got for sure.
Yeah, because I've been kind of super interested about that because I just see so many people struggling, and I don't know if it's because they're comparing lives. I don't know if it's because of social media forces you to compare lives. I don't know, but they're just so hard on themselves, and it puts them in this really negative vibrational state downward to where they can't get out of it, and then it perpetuates, right? Because I was told the other day, like your brain doesn't know the difference between a truth and a lie, or between fiction and nonfiction.
Yeah, and
like it knows what you tell it. And if you continue to perpetuate a negative thought, well, what do you think is going to start happening in the physical world? Because you're sending negative vibrational patterns out, and then it just starts to perpetuate down. Then you think, well, I'm just down on my luck. It's just meant to happen.
Yeah,
well, I said, no crap.
Yeah, and when you're in that negative state with those beliefs, you then start looking for reasons to validate your beliefs. So then your imagination starts to create that reality because you're validating it, you know, and looking for, it's like, you know, when you buy a red car, you know, then all of a sudden you see the red cars everywhere, right? It's called your reticular activating system.
Yeah, it's just so wild to me because I'm fascinated by it because you see so many people struggle. And even in my space where we have to do identity shifts for people and if they want to invest in real estate and maybe they've never done it before and maybe they're in a W-2 job and they're doing well, but they're kind of tired of the hamster wheel. They're kind of like you were talking about, right? You're doing all this stuff, but you're not fulfilled and you're in this hamster wheel of Groundhog Day and you want to move yourself in life, but it's an identity shift for you to like go like, okay, I can do this. I am worthy of it. And yeah, I'm good enough. And yeah, I don't need to be an expert. I can just go figure it out, but I need to take one step and put it in front of the other and just start the process.
Yeah.
And
And
it's
I
hard to
went
get
through that.
people to move. It's hard to get people to move.
100%. And I went through that when I left my career in nightlife because I was very successful in that industry. And, um, you have your reputation, your status, and people perceive you in a certain way. And then after you're tired of the hamster wheel and you want to do something else, it's like, well, do I actually have what it takes to become a coach? Are people going to laugh at me? How am I going to explain why I'm leaving Toronto and moving to Costa Rica? And, imposter syndrome kicks in hard. And, as entrepreneurs who've had success, we think, well, we got to have it all figured out. Like we can't leave one business and jump into the next without having the whole master plan crafted. But the truth is, you just have to have a starting point, and you have to have the passion and the commitment and the faith and belief in yourself that
Yeah, the
universe
last one is the hardest for people, is that
and
faith and belief in yourself that
yes,
you can do it, and that you're no different than any other person that's probably done it before. Um, or someone was telling me the other day, yeah, well, they're so rich. I said, well, yeah, but they were broke at some point. I said, every millionaire and billionaire and gazillionaire that you see out there that's either at a low profile or is like at the mega profiles in the world that and you see online, they were all broke at some point,
and
and
being
they were
broke
all
taught them how to get rich.
yeah, and they were all a nobody, meaning they didn't have a profile or 400 million followers online and all these things all over YouTube. None of them had that. I mean, heck, dude, I went back the other day because my kids love Mr. Beast. Do you know who Mr. Beast is?
Yeah,
Okay.
that guy's killing it,
So, I mean, who does not know that guy now?
right?
So this was like 3 years ago. I come downstairs and my kids are watching this guy on YouTube, and it's Mr. Beast. I didn't know who he was.
Right.
And so I started looking him up, making sure the kids are watching somebody decent. And I went onto his YouTube channel. At this time, he was already blowing up, but I went all the way back to literally his first video that he still had on YouTube. He had 1,200 subscribers at this time.
Wow.
And he's sitting there playing video games in a little dark room with a little hoodie on, right? Nothing spectacular. And that wasn't working for him. It just wasn't in alignment with probably his big vision. And he switched it up. And what he did is he started literally going to a Best Buy or any kind of Walmart, something like that, right? And he'd put blue tape in a circle about 5 feet wide, cover it with a blanket, and grab some random person off the street or in the store and bring them over and unfold the blanket and say, anything you can put in this circle in the next 5 minutes, you get. And then people would go berserk, right? It's like the shopping center. And people are crying. They're stacking TVs and, PS5s and food for their kids. Moms are crying because their kids are finally getting something they can never get before. You can imagine how viral this could go.
Sure. Yeah,
Hence the reason here, boom.
Yeah.
And never look back.
And he created abundance by giving back.
There you go.
Right.
That's hence the reason the whole podcast started.
Really?
Yes. It was all based off Mr. Beast. I mean, if you go onto our IG channel,
okay,
you'll see the video that kind of this whole thing started from. Because of me seeing that, I'm going, dude, all these, and then you see the consistency. And I started talking to more entrepreneurs and more entrepreneurs and more entrepreneurs. And I'm like, dude, all of you are great at what you do and you have the tactics and strategies nailed, but all of you have 3 layers on, all of you. And if you get down below, and even you, and that's why I want to dive into it right now, is there's something down in you when you were a young boy and things that you've gone through trauma wise, and good, bad, or indifferent. Could have been big trauma, low trauma, doesn't really matter, but there's reasons that you believe in this concept of giving back and helping others.
Absolutely.
And why you don't even need to say it, but you know it intuitively inside of you that if you do that, the law of reciprocity and the law of the universe pays you 50-fold. Tell me about that, because that is really what is at the core of a lot of great entrepreneurs.
Yeah. So, as you mentioned before, my family's from India and Pakistan, and, they moved to Canada in the 70s, and, mom's secretary, dad's a courier, living check to check. Times were tough growing up. At 21, when my parents split up, the banks took our house, and I was pretty much out on my own from an early age. I mean, I had already left high school at 17. By that point, I had been kicked out of 3 high schools.
Oh,
so
wow.
3 strikes, you're out. 17, I'm done. I was working in nightlife by 18. And
this is in Toronto?
In Toronto, yeah. Now, even though my parents didn't provide me with financial abundance or financial literacy, they did instill in me a work ethic to really just, you want something, you get a job, you work hard, and you get it. And my parents, very sweet, kind people, raised me with good morals and values. And I have always believed that treat others as you'd like to be treated, and to be honest, be integral, and don't lie. Just be a good human. And those core values, those basic morals and principles that my parents passed on to me, has played a significant role in my success. And, in the nightlife industry, yeah, it can be kind of shady. People are
Sure.
drinking, drugs, or, it's a fast cash business. And my partners and I, we all shared the same morals and ethics, and played a big part in why we did so well. And for me, I was never monetarily driven because I didn't come from money. For me, it was more so, how do I throw the most epic party? How do I help people celebrate life? They might work hard Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. And on the weekend, they want to go out. They want to have a few drinks. They want to dance. They want to have some good food. They want to, maybe flirt and hook up
So
with.
that was your initial driver, was that concept?
It was about helping people celebrate life with good music, with social interaction, with living, experiencing life. Like for me, it came from a place of, how do I create the best vibe for people, and we were never like spreadsheets and projections and all that when we started. Like, I was a bartender, my partner was a waiter. We just came together and thought, okay, like, what's missing in the city? What can we do different that others aren't doing? Like, how can we give back and create a really special experience? And that's where it started for us. And of course, as we got more successful and investments got higher, or bigger, we had to become a little bit more savvy with how we raise money and our investments. But it was always rooted in, how can we provide great value and an awesome experience? Now,
Mm.
In the coaching space, and with what I'm doing now that I've been in it for, over 5 years, and I've worked with dozens of men and women. I just got to click something, one sec. Hold on.
Yeah.
Now that I've been in the coaching space for over 5 years and worked with dozens of men and women, I've also had the pleasure of coaching a couple of 17-year-old guys. And the work that we did together, I've been in touch with them now, and they're now older and they've got jobs or in relationships, and I see who they've become. I remember when I was 17 and I got kicked out of high school, and, my father wasn't a great role model. My mom was busy working sometimes 2 or 3 jobs. I was lost, and I was out there, and I was trying to figure out, what did it mean to be a young man? And I made mistakes. I did some dumb shit. Thankfully, my parents instilled great morals and values in me to navigate what was right and wrong. But I thought, if I knew then what I knew now, wow, where would I be? And having coached these young men, seeing that what I shared with them literally changed the trajectory of their lives, I'm now, to talk about giving back and creating something new. In January, I'll be launching a school community called Everyday Kings, which is going to be focused on mentoring men 18 to 23. And the idea is not just for me to share my coaching lessons and exercises, but also to have a team of mentors who are guys, 35, 40 plus, who have businesses. Maybe, it's a former pro athlete, maybe it's a crypto guy, or someone like yourself in real estate, who can help mentor these young men between 18 and 23. It's such a pivotal time in a man's life, where he's just coming out of high school, going to college, or maybe he's going right into the workforce. He's starting
Yep.
to date now, having sex, drugs, alcohol are all available to him. What knowledge and wisdom can we share with these young men to help them, get on a better trajectory in life, and also help provide them with the tools and the exercises and modalities to heal what's happened in the first 18 years of life, so they don't bring that past trauma and those limiting beliefs into their future timeline. So it's something I'm super excited for, because I believe that's the journey of life. Like, that is why we're here, to heal, to learn, to grow, and then to turn around and offer a helping hand to those that are maybe a few steps behind us. Right. So that's something.
Why wasn't your dad a good role model in your eyes?
Yeah. So my father was an alcoholic. He wasn't a great provider in the sense that he didn't make much money. The money that he did make, a lot of it went towards cigarettes and alcohol. My father didn't teach me how to be a man, because he was never taught from his father. So he didn't provide me with a lot of guidance. He wasn't someone I could look to with respect and admiration. Don't get me wrong. I love my father. He's a sweet man. He's very kind. Again, he gave me probably the most important lessons he could, which is how to be a good human. But he didn't teach me how to be a man. He didn't understand sports. Growing up, I was the last kid to get picked on any team. I didn't know how to play baseball, hockey, football. Damn, I didn't even know how to play cricket. Like literally, I was the last one to ever get picked, and it was humiliating, right?
Got it.
And he wasn't a great communicator. So if I was going through something challenging, I couldn't go to him to ask him for guidance or help. My father never told me he loved me growing up. I never heard, "I'm proud of you." Even when I created many businesses and made millions of dollars, he never said to you, "Son, I'm really proud of what you've done. And I think it's amazing. And, and I love you." Never
So
heard
that,
that from my
that,
father.
that builds up some stuff.
100%.
Yeah.
Because I'll
But
tell you.
they always say your mess is your story, man.
Yeah.
Because everybody has different, they say that you're not, it's not your fault and your starting point, right? How you started in life is not your fault. Right? You come into the
Yeah.
world, parents are your parents or lack thereof.
Mhm. And you
But
choose your
also,
parents. I
what's
believe
that?
we choose our parents. I believe we choose our parents before.
Really? Like pre-life, choose your parents?
100%. I believe we choose our parents knowing who they are
Yeah.
to have the human experience we need for our soul to grow and evolve.
Really? See, that's some deep shizzy we could probably that can be like a 4-hour podcast.
Oh, for sure. We can set that up for
Interesting.
another time. One other
Okay.
thing I will say, you touched on this. What happened to you isn't your fault. Healing and overcoming it is your responsibility.
100%. Yeah, how you finish up is your responsibility. How you start is not.
Yeah.
So I would agree with that all the way through. That's in yes, you got a deep story to be able to share with men. Yeah, there's an organization in San Diego that we've helped out quite a bit called Boys to Men. Boys
Oh, I
to
love
Men.
that. Okay.
And it focuses on the middle school age kid, kind of like my son's age, right around that kind of 10 to right before high school age, middle school age to maybe 10 to 14, where, like you said, they're hitting puberty, they're starting to experience things, they're, stepping into this little bit of an early manhood role, starting to look at girls, starting to do all this stuff. And the lack of a role model in a lot of these boys' lives, if it doesn't get under control at that age, they're sometimes almost lost by the time they hit 18 to 23.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so this group came in at that younger age because they said, "Hey, this seems like there's a lot of resources for young kids, infants and young babies. Decent amount of resources for older kids trying to go to college in that 17, 18, 20, 25-year range. We feel like there's a gap between this middle school age boys that if we don't catch them there, it feels like cliff by the time they hit that age." But it's brilliant that you're hitting it at that 18 to 23 to kind of move them through the next stage of life, which is, like you said, whether it's college, coming out of high school, maybe getting into the entrepreneur world, whatever it is. But that we figured two things. Role model, number one, is critically important. And number two is education or the knowledge that there is something bigger that they could do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because if those two things align and a role model's behind that, pushing it, then they realize, okay, I see all my friends over here doing bad shit. I don't need to do that.
Right.
That's not a role I need to play. I can actually choose a different direction because I believe that there's something better. And I see it because of my role model showing it. What do you think about that?
100% agree, because for myself, I didn't have a father I can go to talk to about women. I didn't have, somebody I could talk to about, "Dad, I don't want to do school anymore. What could I do?" When I started making some money, I didn't have my dad or any mentor to tell me, "Hey, look, put aside 20% of what you're making every month, put in an account you're not going to touch, buy some real estate by the time you're 25. I didn't have any of that financial literacy or the type of guidance that would have made a huge difference. And as well, I didn't have someone telling me, "I believe in you. You're a smart kid. Yeah, you don't need maybe school isn't for you right now. Okay, well, here's what I think you can pursue," right? Just having that validation from someone that I admire and I respect would have made a huge difference, because I'll tell you that when a boy doesn't feel that he's chosen and he is appreciated from his father, he will seek that validation in other ways from other people,
Or things.
from superficial. He will do anything to feel good enough and to feel worthy, and that's why it is so important that if a young man isn't getting that validation and that guidance and that affirmation from his father, that he receives it from someone he respects and admires, because otherwise he's going to do some really dumb shit just to feel like he's good enough, that he's chosen. Is
I-
a lot of the high performing entrepreneurs, CEOs, and founders that I coach, they are a hurt little boy in a grown man's body that are working themselves to burnout, doing things to numb themselves, to distract, to get the dopamine, because inside that pain of not feeling chosen from their father is felt every day.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder if because you're immigrant family, and I find that like with immigrant families, some of the hardest working people on the planet,
Mhm.
and it's usually because they don't come from much, right?
Yep.
And so there's no entitlement to any of that.
No,
Growing up, in the U.S., where it's richest country in the world, and there's some senses of entitlement with some of the youth in that. So you see that in a lot of the immigrant families coming through, that this burning fire inside of them
for
for
sure.
whatever
It's
reason.
survival for them,
Yeah,
especially there's a deep sense of gratitude as well. You hear a lot of these guys speak about, they're like, back home, five of us are sleeping in one bedroom. Here we
yeah,
have a 3-bedroom house. We have a car, we have groceries. They're so grateful for the life that they have that they're not going to screw that up. Right.
I love it.
I
You've
will
done
say as well that
meditation.
that adversity and coming from a third world country where you're just struggling to get by teaches you grit. It teaches you resilience. It teaches you to how to
Hmm.
hustle in a way that someone growing up in California that's, got food in the fridge, gas in the tank, and rent mortgage is paid for. They don't grow up with the same desire and hustle that these immigrant. Uh,
100%. It's the lack of grind, because of, you call it entitlement, but just having the comfortability in your life
yeah,
where you haven't had to have any struggle really, like
yeah,
big struggle.
yeah,
Um, you talked about kind of the retreats and the breath work and all of that. But I want to dive into deeper into that with people and kind of getting in touch with themselves. Um, so two things, and I'll kind of touch on a personal thing because we were talking about earlier. You said that a lot of men, if they get into alcoholism and stuff like that, it's because they're numbing themselves for some other thing.
yes,
And I don't know if she'll be okay with me saying this, but she's battling it right now with her ex-husband, who probably, and I know this because I knows what she's told me and the stuff he's went through at a young age. There's a lot of trauma
yeah,
in this guy, and he's choosing um, other people and other relationships and even alcohol in a way over his own daughters,
okay,
and it's heartbreaking to like
yeah,
watch this happen, like from a man looking at another man. I'm going, bro, like what the are you doing?
hmm,
Like this is crazy because my mind doesn't even compute that. I can't even
right,
like how would you do that to your children? Nuts.
hmm.
But it's happening. Like how would you advise someone like that?
Sure. So the reason why a lot of men between the age of 40 to 50 go through this crisis, it's because we're told, go to school, get good grades, get a good job, make money, get married, have kids, have the house, the cottage, the boat, all the things, and you'll be happy. Now, if you're lucky or you're smart enough, you'll make that happen in around the age of 40, 45. But what's driving you to be successful is the pain from the past. As we talked about, the unresolved trauma, the self-limiting beliefs, all the things we haven't worked through. Well, while we're hustling and grinding, accumulating, we're getting the dopamine of what success feels like. But then you've got it all and you're like, okay, I'm here at the top of my mountain, but I'm still not happy. And because they've never done the inner work, those past pains and trauma are still there. So now the numbing begins, right? So what he's experiencing and going through is all of what's been pushed down for 40 plus years is now starting to come out. And the choices he's making are rooted in the pain that he hasn't dealt with. So when you see him being neglectful to his daughters and you ask yourself, how the hell can he not see what he's doing? How is he not, showing up as a father? He's not operating from an adult level of consciousness. He is choosing from a place of pain. When he's numbing himself, when he's doing all these things to distract and to not feel, it is coming from 6-year-old boy who might have been abused or beaten or abandoned or not loved, right? And the pain that we push down, it gets amplified throughout life, because we talked about this earlier. If you have a certain belief, whether it be negative or positive, you'll keep looking for reasons to validate that belief. So this man has this past trauma, these past beliefs, a story about himself. And over the last 30, 40 years, he's been validating all of that, but pushing it down and pushing it down. And now it's all coming out, right? So it's deep trauma that has never been dealt with that is now surfacing, and who he's now become is probably shocking a lot of people, because it's like they didn't see it, or maybe there might've been signs here or there, but now the alcohol and whatever else he's using is an amplifier to what's been suppressed. Right.
And it sounds like it's been going on for quite some time, but like you said, he's in his mid 40s, and yeah, let's call it the last 10, 15 years. So since 30 years of age, that at least it's been going on that I'm aware of. But yeah, it's probably, like you said, it's built up based on things that he's seen. But how do you shake free from that? I mean, is this something where it has to fall on him? Is this, hey, I got to hit rock bottom? Is this?
So unfortunately, yeah, usually it's someone has to have a rock bottom or some sort of disruptive event that has them take a step back and ask, wait a minute, is this how I want to live my life? Now, for some people, they get a cancer diagnosis. It's a marriage falling apart. It's a business failing. It's some sort of, the body keeps the score and is always trying to tell us what's going on. When we don't pay attention, we will get a sign that we can't ignore. And, unfortunately, I have a friend who just got diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer.
Oh my gosh.
And I know he's got some deep, deep shame and self-worth issues that he's been suppressing for a very long time. And it's when we have that rock bottom moment that we have a choice. We either ask ourselves, what is my body trying to tell me? What is God showing me right now that I need to learn? And what can I take ownership of here in this moment? Because nobody's going to knock at your door and give you the solution. You got to go inwards, and you got to ask yourself, what is coming up right now that I have not been listening to? What is this trying to show me? And unfortunately, for some people, they'll keep numbing and ignoring and running from the issue until sometimes it goes past the point of no return. And for some people, the marriage ends, the business fails, they end up in the hospital, and they use that as a turning point to heal what isn't resolved and change the trajectory of their life. There's a book about that was written by cancer survivors, and each one of these stories, they say that cancer is the best thing that ever happened to them, and that they wouldn't have changed a thing, because cancer, even though they were scared they were going to die, actually taught them how to live. So even in these moments where we go through adversity, we go through these challenges, we go through that rock bottom, it is a moment for us to reinvent ourselves. And there's a quote I heard once I love. It says, never rob anyone of their rock bottom.
Oh, I like that one.
Low. Yeah, people need to get that low, because the perspective down at the bottom, when you're low on the floor looking up, is a lot different when you're up top high of your mountain, and looking at life from a very different lens. So, yeah.
And there's another one that Tom Hanks gave, and I don't even know if it's his quote. He says, this too shall pass. Everything is temporary. This too shall pass, meaning everything good.
Yeah.
And everything bad.
Yeah.
So if you're at the top of the mountain and you're like, yeah, this too shall pass, my friend.
That's it.
If you're at the bottom and you're like, oh God, this too shall pass, my friend.
And the lesson is, whether you're at the top of the mountain or the bottom, can you just be okay with where you're at and trust that you are where you are in this moment and it serves you, right? That life's happening to you. Life's not happening to you, it's happening for you. And then you could choose to see that life is happening through you. And even in these rock bottom moments, you could ask yourself, okay, how am I going to rise from the ashes here, right?
Yeah.
If you're willing to take ownership, and if you're willing to accept the fact that, hey, I'm responsible for my situation. I put myself here.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I mean, so, let me kind of walk through, and maybe somebody can relate to this, and maybe you can even coach me here. So, I got divorced about 6 years ago, just before 2020, and very tough. It was difficult, and it was mainly my decision, which is not typically the case, right? Usually it's the woman, and it was a tough time, and I'd say for 9 months, I didn't do anything other than kind of focus on me, get internal, get down, and then, started dating again, but not to really do anything other than just have some fun. And that was fine, but I felt very empty in that process. And then finally came through into one relationship that was a good one. And that was about 7 months, and then it ended. And I kept trying to figure out, okay, like what happened there? Was it her? Was it me? Was it both? And it was definitely a combo. And then I had another relationship probably about a few months after that went about 6 months and ended again. And this is similar time frame. It's all around 6, 7 months, and then boom, right? So then I'm sitting there going, okay, I recognize patterns, right? So I said, I need to have like a moment in the mirror here. Like, I understand they ended for different reasons, but a similar theme.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, okay, I need to like correct this because something's going down here. Something's happening in my behaviors that's causing reactions to certain things that's leading down to a certain path. And so I actually sought out a male therapist
Okay.
that works just with men. And he ended up being locally in San Diego.
Yeah. Amazing.
And I feel like this all happens for a reason, right? You say, like, you start asking, the universe delivers. And I said, I need to figure this stuff out because something's going on. Because the second relationship, like, we were in love and it was amazing and all these other things were beautiful about it. And then it seemed like it ended pretty abruptly. And what I had to learn, what I wasn't getting and understanding, even at my middle age, with 4 key things. And I think men need to understand this, and maybe you can help with this. Number 1 is the importance of the masculine and feminine in the relationship.
Absolutely.
Number 1. Number 2 is the difference between how men and women process emotion. Big difference. Number 3 is female psychology, which is still a moving target. And then number 4 is attachment styles.
Yes.
Which I did not know about. I had no idea about this stuff.
Right.
And so this therapist, his name is Josh Hudson, incredible. I mean, what's odd about this guy is he's in his 30s, never been married, in committed relationship, but I have never met anyone, and you can go online and look him up. I have never met anyone that has these things nailed down to a T and could actually present them in a way my mind just clicked.
Okay.
And when that happened, I was like, oh gosh, because then it made sense, like why these relationships were failing. It all linked in beautifully for me then, and I was able to self-correct. But most people can't self-correct, like they need further help in it. But that led me to the deepest part of the help, and that was hypnotic reprogramming. Okay. Have you ever heard of this?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. This stuff's wild because first of all, I'm not really a big believer in it. I am now. But I had never done any of this kind of the breath work and the hypnosis and this kind of, I thought it was all foo-foo, fee-fee, hippie stuff, right?
Right.
And I was introduced to it by this guy. And he says, you need to go check these people out. Just go and listen and check it out. And so I went to this girl, her name was Lindsay. She owns a place called Deep Space in San Diego. And I go in and we have our first meeting and we talk and all that stuff. And we're just like a consultation. She says, okay, we're going to set for a comeback. And you don't think you can be hypnotized? I'm like, no, I don't think I can be hypnotized. You don't think you can be? Okay, perfect. So she's kind of laughing. And anyhow, we go in for the second meeting and we start the process, and it's wild. I mean, the stuff that came out of that, even after one session, but after I did it for a year and some change, and then still go back. But to give you one example, what came out of this, I was having the hardest time figuring out why I had the hardest time asking people for help.
Okay.
Couldn't figure it out. I'm like, I don't understand. Like, I feel worthy. I feel like I don't understand this. We went back down, hypnosis, went into it all the way back to where I was 8 years old, riding in the back of my parents' Suburban. My mom had picked us up from school. Brother and sister were in the front second row. I was in the last row of the Suburban. We're leaving school. We pass the road that we normally turn on to go to the house, to go home. We keep going. And of course, I'm the young kid. I'm the youngest in the family going, what's going on? And then my mom says, your dad and I are getting a divorce. We're splitting up and we're heading out to the grandparents' house right now. And of course, I start losing it as a young kid.
Yeah.
I'm like freaking out in the back seat. I don't understand what's going on, blah, 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 blah. And my brother and sister, not knowing to them, they say, shut up, kind of suppress the feelings. Don't feel that way. Don't ask for help. Don't ask for this. Don't ask for that. Shut up. Right. And apparently that was like the trigger that suppressed me. At 8 years of age, Had
Yeah.
no idea that this was there. It's crazy. So that was one. And we found out others and others and others. And it's wild how much sits in the subconscious,
Hmm.
comes out into the conscious,
Yes.
completely unknown to you.
Hmm.
Uh, it's it's crazy. But being able to go in there and through hypnotic reprogramming, identify it, pull it out, and reprogram it, and insert
Yeah.
something else in your subconscious, it's done a 180 for me, dude. That's the work I've personally done. I'd like for you to lean into that because this is what you do
Yes.
uh, in different ways and working with men and then maybe couples and other people. But talk about that and we'll kind of finish up on that.
Yeah. So if you look at the behavior is I don't ask for help. I take things on. I'm a lone wolf. I get burnt out. That is a behavior, the pattern. Or let's say in relationship, I can't be vulnerable and speak my truth because I don't do it. Right. So you notice there's this pattern. So there's this behavior. Now, what's the originating incident? For some people, they can't identify because it happened so long ago that it's buried and it's also suppressed. Often our conscious mind will suppress painful memories because we don't want to feel that pain again, right? So the hypnotherapy took you back to the originating incident that your conscious mind couldn't connect to. Now, sometimes that's done through coaching, talk therapy, through breath work, through plant medicine. Sometimes it can even be, brought out through sometimes in dreams, like when the conscious mind is offline, right? These suppressed memories will come up. So you were able to identify the originating incident, you in the back of Suburban. It was a deeply traumatic experience. You found out of the blue, your parents were splitting up. You were vulnerable. You asked for help and you were shut down, not just by your mom, but also by your siblings. So the people that you love, the people that are your protectors, the people that are you turn to for help shut you down. So in that moment, you were vulnerable. It was traumatic. I can't ask for help. I can't count on people. I can't count on people. So I don't bother asking for help. Screw it. I'll do it on my own. Now, your little mind made that decision, made that choice, that distinction in that moment. You didn't know at 8 years old, oh, I've decided I'm not asking anyone for help anymore. But that belief that I can't ask people I care about for help, that belief was formulated. And now you start looking for reasons to validate that experience throughout your life.
Hmm.
And then it becomes your belief. Your belief shapes your behavior shapes your personality, and your personality shapes your reality. And
Hmm.
this is why if you have patterns in your life that you know are sabotaging your relationship, sabotaging your finances, sabotaging your health, you could ask yourself, what is the belief I have around going to the gym? What is the belief I have about how much I can charge for my services? When did I discover that belief? Or so when did I create that belief? And then the discovery begins. Again, whether it be coaching, hypnotherapy, breath work, plant medicine, there are ways to go back. And when you identified that belief or that moment that created that belief, and you went back in the hypnotherapy, and you could probably see it very clearly. I'm in the Suburban. I think I'm going
Oh
home.
yeah, it's
So where am I
wild
going?
how
Like
vivid. Yeah,
you
you
went
can
right
almost like talk about the colors and
yeah. But
almost
now
smells. Weird.
you're viewing it as an observer now. You're viewing it as if though you're watching TV, watching the experience rather than being in it. And from this adult level of consciousness, you can observe the experience that happened without the emotional attachment. So you can watch it and see, okay, here's what happened. I'm driving with mom and kids and my siblings and we pass it and mom didn't have, I don't know, she didn't have the time to tell me that they're separating. She told me then, and you can see it from a different perspective. And now you have the choice to reframe what happened. And in reframing what happened, you no longer feel like you were the victim, that you were not cared for. You can see it as mom was probably stressed. Mom didn't know how to tell me. My brothers and sisters didn't know how to handle the situation. Nobody was doing this to you in a malicious way. They
Right.
still love you. They still care for you. But in that moment, they couldn't nurture you and provide for you the way you needed. So when you're able to revisit the experience from your adult level of consciousness and see it for what it is and reframe it, that reframe changes your beliefs.
Sure.
Changing beliefs changes your behavior and so on. So
Yeah.
that is the process of, being able to go back and identify the originating incident and choosing to see it in a new way and write a new story.
No, 100%. Yeah, no, it's pretty crazy. how a lot of that stuff comes up, even attachment styles, right? I mean, I didn't even realize I was talking about the 4 things I learned
Yep.
for men and for relationships, but yeah, the critical nature of that masculine and feminine.
Yes.
Holy cow! I mean,
Yeah.
it is.
I just
This
let a
is,
4 hour work.
why, for any of you men out there that may be watching this, you may be able to attract a woman and maybe do it fairly easily,
Mhm.
but for you to maintain that attraction from her falls off.
Yes.
And there's a very specific reason why this is happening. And it is because of that masculine and feminine, I call it the seesaw that
Yes.
goes on. This is what I was
Yeah.
taught, and how that in the beginning, it's all in your favor. And then it typically goes flatlined at a certain point.
Yeah.
And then unfortunately it does that. And the minute it does that, you're trying to wonder, you're going, gosh, like, why is she kind of distancing herself? Why is she not as trying, like, starting a physical intimacy or desire, or what's
Yeah.
going, like, why is she
Because
being
that's because the sexual polarity is off, right?
correct? And the
Yeah.
masculine feminine imbalance, right? Is that polarity is way off to where she can no longer, unfortunately, because she's not emotionally connected
She doesn't feel
with emotion,
safe,
right?
you know?
Emotional safety, emotional intimacy, all that stuff that's there being provided and protected for all these critical natures for the woman. Yeah, she's going to detach. And because of that, then she starts to pull away because that's her mechanism,
Exactly.
not knowing full well that then is going to make you feel a different way too. So it's very, very interesting when that dynamic takes place. So I had to learn a lot of that. And then the attachment styles. I would have thought if you'd asked me, totally secure attachment, you are in normal state,
Yes.
but in state of flight or state of panic, I didn't realize, because most men become avoidant,
Mhm.
right?
For sure. Yeah, 'cause we
Statistically
don't know how
avoidant.
to talk about our feelings. We don't wanna
Right.
open up and, you know.
Yeah. Apparently I'm anxious.
Okay.
So this is what was triggering things for me, that a minute the woman was pulling away or having a feeling of distancing, it would trigger
Mhm.
the anxious attachment in me to go chase. Big problem, right? And that was causing this kind of perpetual downward motion, because I didn't realize why it was happening. I didn't understand any of this stuff at first. Now I do. So it totally changes how I react to things. But it's wild.
And let me ask you, your anxious attachment style, was there any correlation to your relationship with your mom?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why, but it stems from childhood.
For sure.
Hands down, childhood.
Yeah.
Because I had 2 loving parents.
Mhm.
Dad, great dad, loving, caring, was always there. Good role model, was always there. Mother, same thing, great mother, was always part of the PTA and house and this and that. But there was never a lack of love, from
Okay.
her. So I don't know. It was really
Mhm.
strange. But just knowing that it created anxiousness. Maybe it's because I was the 3rd child and I got the least of the love.
Maybe. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't
But, I
know.
mean, they also say sometimes that the baby gets some, spoiled, right? And baby gets a lot of
Well,
it.
yeah, so it could have gone the other way around, but yeah, maybe not as much. But in any event, yeah, that anxious attachment style is there. So it doesn't change. You just learn how to deal with it.
Yeah.
Right. And now it's
Yeah.
much, much different because I've reframed the mind. So
Gotcha.
yeah, masculine, feminine, attachment styles, the female psychology, and then the importance of knowing how the difference between men and women process emotion.
Yeah.
Women do it emotionally. They need that cylinder of emotion. Men do it very logically. That's just how we work.
Yeah.
Right. We're problem solvers by nature.
That's it.
And that's what we do. It's very interesting. Awesome, man. Well, I want to finish up on this because I know you have a retreat coming up.
Mhm.
And I think this would be very helpful. Heck, I may even want to look into this. It's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
because we actually
You have 2 retreats, right?
yeah, and the focus
Yeah.
of the retreat in October is all about this masculine, feminine energy. It's about preparing yourself to become the one. Like, there's a lot of people out there who are looking for the one. They're looking for their Mr. Right, Mrs. Right, right?
Yeah.
However, they're not in alignment with that level of commitment and relationship. They are still operating from their past wounds, from the old attachment style. They are still repeating, like you were, those same 6-month patterns, right? And then they're wondering, why isn't my relationship working out? Well, because you still have shit from the past that you're bringing into this new relationship. So part of this retreat is about identifying where you blocked. What are the patterns that keep coming up, and what have you not resolved yet? Right. So getting whole and complete within yourself, connecting to yourself on a deeper level, because you can't really receive and give love fully to others until you can give that to yourself. And in order to do that, you got some deep healing that you need to do within, right? Now, the second part of this retreat is we focus on people who are already in relationship, who, maybe they're together a few years or, 15, 20 years, and they want to go deeper, but they they don't know what it's going to take to get to that next level. And a lot of it, to your point, which you mentioned, is about masculine, feminine energy, understanding the psychology, the wants and needs of both the man and the woman, understanding how to communicate consciously, to really speak your needs and to work through the issues together, right? So this retreat is called Connection. And it is in the Mayan Riviera, October 30th to November 3rd. We have this beautiful private retreat center on 10 acres called Onze, has its own cenote, its own temazcal. There's going to be a plant medicine ceremony there. There's going to be farm to table food, breath work, primal movement classes, and of course, workshops around relationship and connection.
That's cool. And is it for couples or individuals, or does it matter?
I have people who are single and I have couples coming. Yeah. So it's going to be a mix.
When's the next one after that? Because that's probably the one I'm going to be, because what I'll do is I'll talk to Kate and kind of, long story short. So after going through all this stuff, now I'm in a beautiful relationship where all this stuff is aligned because of the work I did.
You became the one.
Stepping into the masculine correctly.
Yes.
Understanding, the differences between how we're processing emotions so we can connect on that. Attachment styles and realizing when it gets triggered, how do you handle that? Mm-hmm. And then realizing female psychology, which is still a revolving door, right? Yep. It's always moving.
And have you learned about love languages as well?
Oh, yeah. I mean, of course. I mean, I think anybody, that's one of the first kind of self-development books you read, and understanding yours and hers.
Yeah.
But I would say even more importantly, beyond that, what the therapist taught me is there's 3 core things that a man needs, and there's 3 core things that a woman needs. Of course, there's lots, but these are the core.
Yes.
So a woman needs 3 core things.
Yeah.
She needs to be feeling provided for, protected, and emotional intimacy, emotional safety.
Yes.
Right? Those 3 things are at the core.
Mm-hmm.
Man needs 3 core things at his core. He needs to have a supportive spouse.
Mm-hmm.
He needs peace in the home, and he needs physical intimacy.
Yeah.
Because that's how we connect. That's how we feel love and give love, is the physical connections. And it doesn't have to be sex, just physical connection. So those 3 things, and then the 3 things for a woman, of course, there's many others, but those cores, if they're there, the relationship can blossom.
Yeah, the foundation. Yeah.
So pretty wild stuff. But yeah,
so
we're always learning, man.
Absolutely.
Always learning.
Absolutely.
How can people find you? What would be the best method for someone to find out about the retreat, number 1, but number 2, you personally?
Yeah. So my website, zarakfatah.com, as well. My Instagram, same, just my name @zarakfatah. All my information. I have a YouTube channel under the Alive Life, which is the name of my coaching company, all kinds of video content up there. And you asked about the next retreat after that. It's in April, back in the Mayan Riviera, same retreat center. That one's going to be only for men though. That one is going to be for men to come together to grow, to expand, to learn, to, really connect with other brothers who are like-minded, who are, same entrepreneurs, hustlers, fathers, husbands who just want to, share space with other men who are on the same journey and rise up together.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Well, everybody, really appreciate your time coming on and sharing all this stuff with us. I think people are going to get a lot out of this. And if you don't, you're crazy. Sorry, you definitely need Zarek. So we appreciate your time coming on. Any last words before we finish off?
I think that to what you mentioned, for men and women to really get interested in understanding what does each other need, what does each other want, and learning how to speak the same language, learning how to listen to one another is really important. And, there's never been more resources available than ever before to really educate yourself. And whether it be coaching, a retreat, a therapist, whatever it may be, it's the best investment you'll ever make, because unfortunately, divorce rates are, between 40 to 50% and even higher in some, states. And children growing up in the home with either both their parents, or if they're separated like yours, but their parents are both showing up as great role models, is how we heal the collective. It's how we raise healthy, secure children. And this is how we're going to heal the planet and get it back on track. When the masculine and the feminine is back into a harmonious balance, we are going to be living in utopia on planet Earth. And it starts with us.
I love it. Thanks so much for your time, man. Signing off, everybody. Make sure you listen to this podcast, subscribe and follow Zarek as well. And we'll see you on the next time.
See ya.